Good morning. This is CCS IT meeting for September. And first item I think is approval of minutes from last time. So John, thank you for your minutes. I love the AI ones as well as the written ones. Thank you so much. Are you relieved for the break from minutes?
Yes, I am. I didn't know you were talking to me it's for a second. Yes, I think you're welcome,
Yeah,
and I am ready for the break.
yeah. Okay. Can I have a motion for approving the minutes of June 17 minutes? Can anybody second?
Okay, I do.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. Robert, do you want to give us a report from CCS?
Sure. We have Molly Mansfield with us this morning. She has done some work that she'd like to share with the group. So Molly, it's all yours.
Thanks, Bob. Can everybody hear me okay? Thank you. Okay. Can I have sharing capabilities, Bob?
Uh-oh.
Or if you want to share the CCS website,
Uh-oh.
whichever.
Let me see
Um,
where that's at.
Okay, so you go for that. I have just a quick update and then I need to go to another webinar. So I've been working on updating documentation on our website for all of the IT documentation. So one of my primary duties at CCS is updating the website, documentation, etc., and kind of keeping it up to date. So for what I've done so far is I've updated the managing Polaris part of our website. I'm currently working on the installing security manager, the RFID information, the SIP information, and the API information. So I'm just crawling through all of it and updating it as I go. I have a couple requests for you. The first request would be if you could take a couple minutes and go into the CCS website under How To. And if you go to IT, that's where all of our IT documentation is. If you see anything there that you would like to see more information, if you think that maybe a video would be useful, like when you're installing the offline client, or if you think any links are not working, please send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat. And my goal is to get the remainder of the documentation done by the end of October. So I'll be working with Bob directly with the RFID and the API and the SIP information. And I have a second thing about RFID in just a minute. But does anyone have questions so far? No questions. Okay. Oh, I can share now. Thanks. Okay. Um, so sorry, I need more coffee. Clearly, I'm a little like all over the place. So this is where if you go onto the website under How To and go down to IT, it takes you to this page. So right now you can see we have some information about email notification, how to work in the offline client, including downloading and installing, a little bit of information about patron registration that I currently kept on there because of if you have Chrome and you have autofill set on your computers, especially the staff computers, they're going to have some issues with patron registration because there's going to be some autofill that's going to happen. So just reminding people to make sure that's not set in Chrome for those certain desktops. So printer information, SIP information, staff client information, and usernames and passwords. And so you can see that the RFID information isn't here yet. So I'm going to pause for a minute and one more time if there's questions, and then my last thing will be about RFID. Okay, so with the RFID, I know we've had some back and forth in emails about RFID. So what we want to do is gather information about what every library is using for RFID. So which vendors you're using, and if you know your settings for your tags. So I think you've seen the documentation back and forth or the emails back and forth about this. What we're hoping to do is collect this information, add it to our vendor sheet, and then also have sort of an explanation of if you're switching vendors or if you're starting with a new vendor for the first time, this is the way you can sort of have that conversation with your vendor to make sure that we're reading the tags across all of CCS. And so once we get this information, we'll share it out, and encourage people if they're having issues with the RFID tags to please reach out to your vendors and help get those preset fields set so that you're reading everyone's tags in all of their settings. So that information will be here. I think that'll be super helpful to have on the vendor site and then also kind of a blurb. But I'm open to any other feedback now, or if you want to think about it and send me an email, that's great too.
Can you also give recommendation to new libraries who might go for RFID tags regarding what tag format is the most common? I mean, I'm not saying we should standardize, but at least give a recommendation before they make a big investment.
Yes. So what tag format do we, I don't think we can recommend a vendor, but I'm
No,
going to refer to
not the
Bob on
vendor.
that.
It's the
Okay.
tag format, like the
Okay.
RFID format.
Got it. Yeah, we can definitely add that too. So I think what I am envisioning, Sruchi, is we'll have that vendor list and have a separate page with the RFID, sort of information about where people are, where we're hoping to get, and then a link to that vendor page again. Cool. So like I said, I'll put my email in the chat. And again, hoping to finish documentation, videos, or anything else that need to be updated by the end of October. So if you have any suggestions, please send them my way, any information that we're missing. And thanks for giving me a few minutes of time during your meeting.
All right. Thank you, Molly.
You're
Molly did
welcome.
ask me to update the vendor list, and I added 4 columns at the tail end of what was there for RFID. So take a look at that. The labels, the column labels should be pretty self-explanatory as to what I'm looking for. If there's any information that you think we need, that you're going to send to Molly, Molly and I can get together and add that column or columns, or, let us know one way or the other what we need to add to that sheet to be more inclusive. And so that's all I have for RFID. Is there
If you
anything
don't
else?
mind, can you share the vendor sheet, because we are going to talk about it anyways, just to see what 4 columns you've added. Or if
Okay.
people have not seen the sheet, then what is there in the sheet?
How's that? Can you see the sheet?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
So yeah, so we have these 4 columns here. We're looking for the ISO standard. It may be called a data profile. It may not be called a data profile, depending on who you're talking to. But
Okay, Bob, can I interrupt and say, if you know
Sure.
standardized language across the different vendors, that's very helpful too.
Yep.
So what Bob was saying, if it's called the data profile, if it's called something else, if you could let us know, that would be helpful. Sorry, Bob.
And then the vendor. Um, and really, you could have equipment that reads the tags that's different than your tag vendor, I suppose. So maybe we need 2 columns here, one for the equipment and one for the tag vendor.
Yeah. Our tags are
Yeah.
from Biblioteca, our self-checks are Biblioteca, but our RFID pads are Envisionware.
Okay. Well, that kind of information, we can squeeze all that into one column, right? So to speak. But to have RFID equipment vendor and then RFID tag vendor, maybe we could have 2 columns there.
Okay.
So yeah, high frequency tags and ultra high frequency tags are not compatible. More so for new libraries coming on board, or people or libraries that are thinking about RFID and talking with their vendor, and their vendor offers high frequency or ultra high frequency. That would be obviously incompatible with everything else we're running right now. So anyways, yeah, any suggestions or clarifications on this, that anyone may have, that'd be great.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna say it. I don't understand all of these columns. Is there any way CCS can conduct like a 15-minute training for us? Because maybe we know parts of it and not all of it.
Yeah, so there's some formats like the ISO 28560-3. They have local data fields and things like that you can, or not things like that, but they have the local data fields um, that you can add to the tag. Anyways, there is a list of fields that a tag can have, and then
Right.
you have these local data fields, which you can name them anything you want. So, anyways, like the -2 standard is a fixed field, a standard, and the -3 is a variable. Or wait a minute, no, I'm sorry, I have that in reverse. -2 is a variable, and -3 is a fixed length field. So, anyways, yeah, we can,
Maybe on a later date. Because see, this is usually done by technical services, and
yeah,
our job is not to buy the tags. Our job is
yeah,
to program the RFID pads to read the tags.
yeah.
So
So,
clearly, we need to work closer, but their interpretation and our needs are a little different as
yeah,
IT. So maybe something that could bridge that gap for us. Because obviously, we are talking about it more than technical services are talking about it.
yeah. So, is Gray's Lake here at all? I mean, not at all. Is Gray's Lake here?
Yes, I am.
All right. So, you all had to, I think we visited this last time to some degree. You all had to restart your tagging process, right? Because for
From
some reason
zero.
or another. And can you fill us in again as to why that was?
You know,
It had
MK,
nothing to do with other libraries being able to read your tags. Is that correct?
no, that's incorrect. Other
Okay.
libraries were unable to read our tags. I do not. So MK Solutions sold us what was basically a white glove service. We didn't have anything to do with it. I still do not have access to everything in the background of our RFID configuration. I can't tell you what's in the fields of, and we're in the ISO 28560-3,
Okay.
and there is data that is programmed in some of the fields. I forget which library it is. They have one field that they use to mark as non-circulating, and MK has something different in there that is causing a problem for them. But that's nothing I can do. That is their configuration that they're reading that field to read that field as X. And MK is using that field for Y. And well, anyways, I don't have access to any of that.
It
I
sounds
don't
like
know about that.
it sounds like they're using they're not following the standard. Because as far as I know, there's a standard list of fields that's defined by it's defined by the standard.
who's not
So,
using the standard?
okay. And that was a problem many years ago from what I've read in my reading is that, when RFID first started, these tags were being programmed that, the vendor would make things up as they went. But eventually along the way, ISO came up with these standards, and now we do have fields defined in the standard. So, and how they're to be used. And then there's again the local fields that you can use any way you want. But anyways,
Right.
so
I
okay,
was just gonna ask, can I just ask real quick? Do you have a sheet of those standards and what they should be defined as or something? I think that would be helpful for
yeah,
us to see because we have
Yeah.
no idea. And even when we look, I mean, from our perspective, I can, even if I work with Biblioteca, like they've got a tool, they can look and see, how the tag is programmed, but I don't know what those fields mean. I don't know, you know what I'm saying, what any of
Yeah.
that necessarily means. I just know that it's different, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And so
So,
that's all I can tell from some of that. So anyway,
Michael, I
yeah.
would say my goal is to put all of this information in one spot on the website. So you have one page and it will go through all of this. And I think, Bob, what I want to do is just meet with you and maybe just go through this conversation again. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, Michael. I just wanted to let you know, like the goal is to get all of this in one spot so it's easy to refer to. And Sean, I might reach out to you about what happened with MK just so we can better understand. And I might, talk to a few others. If you get an email from me, it's just a quick, let's talk about what's going on with your RFIDs.
Yeah, so
Well,
this is
Sorry
what I was
today,
again to
suggesting.
interrupt.
Once this information is collected separately, can you have a 15-minute meeting or a webinar kind of a thing to explain how this data is going to be interpreted for IT managers?
Absolutely. Yes.
So this is the list of fields that the ISO standard defines.
Right.
And yeah, why a vendor wouldn't follow this, I don't know, but hey, that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
So
because frankly, even after this standard is set, we are not the one who are implementing the standard. It's the TS people who are doing it and working with the vendors. We are just at the executing part and we are called first for troubleshooting.
okay.
So we are not making these purchasing decisions.
Yeah, and
So
from
if
one
I
of
or
my
even configuration decisions.
sure, I
Or
mean,
the
if I could
yes.
just interject here. So over the years, as libraries have added to RFID to their solution, we've come across this many times. The last time I think was in 2023 when Indian Trails got on, and they were using RFID Square, and the ISO was 15693 and ISO 1800-3 mode 1. And that's really what the issue is. There's lots of standards out there. We just have to know what standards are being implemented so that all of our RFID solutions need to support those standards. And usually you just add on to the supported standards in terms of your readers in order to be able to read tags
Well,
from a library that has maybe gone to a different, maybe a newer standard or maybe an older standard or just, something that's parallel. And I think that's the important part, that CCS has a repository as to what all the libraries are currently supporting in order for any new library adding RFID, changing RFID, knows that, oh, hey, if there is a choice, these are what's available. And if it's a new one, that before they make the commitment, whether it's to purchase or it's like through pre-bid or whatever, that the rest of the libraries can respond back indicating, yeah, we checked our solution and we are able to accommodate this additional ISO in our solutions, so that a library doesn't go and make a capital investment of tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars to a solution that now maybe is not supported by the rest of the consortium.
all right, let me
Right.
just jump
Can I jump in here?
Go ahead.
Richard,
Yeah.
You're making a great point, except we're one ILS. I think there should be one picked now. Everybody is already reading one, and anybody new bringing on RFID, here's the standard we'd like you to use.
All right, guys, 1 second. This standard here is designed. ISO designed this standard for libraries. If a vendor is not using this standard, they're not using the standard designed for libraries.
Right, but if a library doesn't pick that standard, as we
No.
have all sorts of other standards
You got a good point.
available, that's
Yeah.
the thing I'm saying. CCS should say, hey, this is great. Library X, you're bringing on RFID. All the other libraries here that already have RFID, read this standard. Please take that standard, and where the customizations are, you can customize to your heart's content.
Sure.
So I want to recognize Ben in the chat. Thank you. So my intention with this part of the conversation was just to gather information about what you would like to see on the website. Again, I am going to pop off, and this is Bob's meeting, but it sounds like you're getting closer to a recommendation that would need possibly a further discussion and maybe more information before you move forward. So I think I've collected what I need, and I don't want to hijack this meeting. And I know that RFID can be a big conversation. So I will take off. Thank you all for what you've contributed. I really appreciate it. And please reach out to me if you need anything else.
Thanks, Molly.
Bye. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
So, and on top of going through the configuration also, or on the topic is, I do remember that back in 2023 when Indian Trails was onboarded with RFID, basically they had an RFID solution. They switched to a different Biblioteca solution from whatever they had. I thought they had 3M, but anyway, one of the support agents configured them to use something called ITG-16 or _16, which is a older ISO object. And so we, along with other libraries, had to go and add ITG_16 as a readable format to our solutions, because all of Indian Trails new or re-tagged items were not able to be read. So, even if you pick a standard, it's possible that some kind of configuration happens that, you have to end up adding more available tags.
Okay, this standard here is not the electronic standard. Is not the electronic communication that's going on between the tag and the reader. So that's a completely different standard, and like you're pointing out, is that there could be many used there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with making a master list of RFID formats that need to be put on the RFID tag, because that is in our scope. And then we can revisit next time if we want to. Because eventually we just need to create a repository of the tags so that whenever a new library onboards or a new library is investing, we can add that format to RFID reader if we want to, if we choose to.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that if I can get back here, we need to add another column that says RFID format.
I think basically we just need one list of all possible RFID tag formats that needed to be added to our RFID tags. Yeah. That's it. And if we have that list, then whoever comes on with a new format, add it to that list. And then we will add it as part of onboarding process, or if a new library is adopting RFID or a new library is onboarding CCS, we will make sure that tag format is added to our RFID pads if we choose to. Because frankly, there are so many libraries who do not have RFID tags and their books already go through barcode that it becomes an optional but preferred thing if we add it to the RFID pad.
Okay.
Do
Isn't
we
that the
agree on
same
that?
field? Sorry. Isn't that the same field as AO though? As the standard?
Yeah, so Bob, what she's asking is if there is ISO 285602 and ITG-16 as two values, which column would they go into?
Well, this is your ISO. Yeah, pick one of these standards, and if one of these ISO standards is not what you're using, let us know that too.
Okay, like I found out ours was ISO 28560-2, but we also had a few old books from ITG-16.
Okay, so
which are
that's
circulating.
Yeah, that's the electronic standard. That's the electronic communication standard. So we probably need a column for that. Let's see, what would we say? RFID.
Usually they call it the tag data format.
Exactly. Yes. So maybe instead of all of this,
Okay.
can you give us just the RFID tag data format column? So because that's the only thing that IT managers here need.
Okay. RFID tag data format.
Yep. I think that's the only thing we need, and everything else, anyway, we are not the people who are doing anything with it. So we manage the self-check reading and the RFID pad reading, and for that we need to add these formats to our RFID pads.
Okay.
Or we need to know what is the common format and recommend if we are asked.
Okay.
Do we agree to that?
Sure.
But in future, if you can collect this information and explain it to us, then we will make a little more intelligent recommendation. But right now, I think all we need is the tag format.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Can we move on to the
Yeah.
old business? I mean, we've almost covered a little bit, but I send the meeting calendar invites for the whole year. Does it help having it on the calendar with the Zoom link already in Outlook compared to how it was before in the agenda?
It's awesome.
Thank you for that. Yes,
So-
I really appreciate having that.
Thank you. I mean, us being IT, I thought if it doesn't exist on, at least on my calendar, it didn't exist. Anyway, so the one learning I had from this experience was in our IT listserv also, there are a lot of people who are in the listserv, not managers, don't want to attend the meeting, and they are reaching out to me saying, I don't want to receive the invite. Unfortunately, that cannot happen because we have only one list. There are some people who are attending who are not managers but want to attend. So then, Bob, I'm going to go back to my original thing. In this vendor sheet or the library sheet, maybe we should call, can you add a column just for the IT manager of that library? Because apparently there are more people from a certain library than just IT managers who are there in that IT listserv.
Run that by me one more time. We're adding a column.
Yeah.
What's
So
the
in the
title of
IT
column?
listserv that we have for CCS, we have a
Yeah.
lot of people who are not IT managers. But when we want to reach out to somebody for any kind of IT questions, the first person we are looking for is the IT manager of a particular library. And right now there have been changes also with Ken leaving. Somebody has swapped from one library to other. So I'm more than happy to field those. And you've seen those requests. People reached out to me when I sent that invite. But maybe it might be a good idea to add a column just for IT manager name for that library.
I mean, I agree with that. I just want to point out that this is not the IT technical managers group. It's the IT technical group. And
Okay.
many
Yeah.
people over the years have been involved with the group as assigned by the library, because it's the library
On a
that
conference call.
assigns who attends this. And it
Okay.
can be a manager, it can be a director, it can be an assistant director, it can be just a technician,
Right.
whether in IT or a facility, even circulation. So just,
Right.
I'd be mindful that there's a plethora of representatives in terms of the libraries and what their particular positions are. Somehow they're involved with some kind of technical configuration as it comes to the ILS. And that's why they're assigned to this group. And sometimes we'll have more than one person coming to it. So there might be a primary, and then others are attending just for a particular topic or whatnot. And I think we should be mindful of that, because I don't think we can mandate that to change. So
No, I'm
like,
not
for example,
mandating
the
any
directors-
change. Richard,
Yeah.
I love what you're saying. You're absolutely right. The more people who attend and are aware of what is happening are more than welcome. So I'm not asking us to curate the IT CCS group. That is
Okay,
not what
great.
I'm getting at. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I just, like I said, I just wanted to point out that there's many people.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And everybody is welcome. And this is not a closed meeting. Even if you're not related to IT and you want to know what's going on, people should come. My ask is only that in the vendor sheet, have a column for IT manager.
Okay, that's been added.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Next, from old businesses, RFID tagging process at Grays Lake. Sean, do you want to add anything?
We started talking about that at the beginning of the last one. So we've rewriting all of the tags, and we're about 10% done now, and we're closing in fast because experience is building on experience. So
Right.
we shouldn't be too much longer. Everything there are. Again, somebody wrote to me. I'm sorry, I'm not good with names and remembering those details. Somebody wrote asking about blank tags, and in the beginning, when we were initially tagging, tech services, our resource services department here was throwing tags in as items were coming in and being unboxed in preparation to be written. And then we stopped writing altogether. So there might be blank tags running around out there from Grays Lake. If you get those items, use a barcode scanner, scan the barcode, ignore the tag, please. When they come back, they will be written. Everything will be corrected and caught up in the net as we move forward. Sorry about the inconvenience.
Thanks, Sean. Hope it gets better soon.
Oh,
Okay,
it is. It's already getting better. I mean, we are moving forward.
Yeah. Yep.
Finally
All right.
got all the ducks to walk in a straight line.
Okay. Let's move on to new business. So we had onboarding for Vernon Area Public Library to CCS. Welcome. John is on the call, right? Does anybody want to share migration experience from this year? I know that CCS has circulated a feedback sheet for this migration. Does anybody have any feedback to share in this group?
I mean, the only thing I'd say is that they're getting smoother, so relatively painless other than the time. So the only feedback that I would say, because we're able to do all our checkouts on our self checks, upload that, we run our sorter, like it's normal business. So the only difference is when they put stuff in the sorter, the check-in stations give them a generic receipt with barcodes as opposed to items. So if they were curious about that, we tell them, yeah, the system's offline. And that lets us get everything nicely sorted. So when the system goes back on, we can just take carts of holds and existing holds and carts of new material and run it through the sorter to get just expedited shelving. But what I would want to see is maybe some research in the back end to the SQL server, and whether there's a better, more beefier license that the libraries can maybe temporarily get assigned, in terms of the consortium, in order to get a better resource to the migration. So maybe it can happen faster. I think there might be some limitations with the version or the type of license we have, as opposed, with regards to what the hardware can be that the database sits on. So maybe that kind of research and say, hey, we might be able to get a license temporarily for a migration and put it on a beefier server in order to cut down the days that it takes. Now, obviously, it's not just stuff that happens automatically. There's also some manual stuff that has to happen, and staff have to process that at III. But if we can get the migrations to be faster, that'd be wonderful. And that's really it. So.
Anyone else?
This is John from Fox River Valley Public Library. So we had a little struggle when we went online after the offline. Our new self checks was storing the data. However, there was a parameter that was not set correctly by FE Technologies. It was a field that sets the expiration of the data that's being stored. So it was set to less than a day. So things went offline on Thursday. That data was already expired by Friday. So it could not be uploaded automatically when we went back online. And we had to do a bunch of data massaging, getting this data in a format that Bob's group, which I want to say did a great job with helping us out as far as emails back and forth on the correct formats and what errors are popping in and out. FE Technology was pretty responsive of trying to get the formats. And then we also assisted in changing the formats or the data that was in the formats, because sometimes it took them 2 hours when I could get it done in a half hour, 45 minutes. So we struggled with that. And in the future, we've set that parameter now to like 6 days. So if we ever have an offline for more than 6 days, we're going to be screwed again. But I hope that won't be the case. That was our experience. Oh, so it ended up that we lost about, I want to say 50 to 75 record history of detail to the customer's history, meaning that they checked out a book, but they returned it, say, like on Tuesday or Wednesday. And because we were writing data still on Thursday, that history of that checkout disappeared. Now, that as far as the status of the book, it was returned or it was checked out, but we don't have that history on about 80 records out of about almost 1,000, I think.
I know we had some similar issues with heavy technology self-checkouts. I'm not certain. I've tried. I've been busy with other things, but I know our circulation manager had to solve a bunch of problems, and we're working with Bob. So, yeah. So, and I think what you described sounds similar to what we had.
Yeah, we were told that this field existed in the database, but they never updated it because it didn't work. But with the new software release they did, it's now active. So that's something that they screwed up on, pretty much.
Thanks, Mark, John, and Richard. Let's move on to the next thing. Maybe once in a year or whenever we get a new technology, can we go to the vendor spreadsheet and update it, say annually? Like after this meeting is over, if I send out an email to everybody with the link, can you please go ahead and update it? Or else whenever there is a change, please update it. Okay, next is Brian from Lincolnwood wants to know, does anyone share the same vendor for physical security and security cameras? And do we have any thoughts about it?
I can just, while people are thinking, we are investigating replacing both of those systems, and it seemed like kind of a natural pairing for me.
We do here at Vernon. And just last year we went with Verkada. So it's all cloud-based. About 3 years ago, they put in that for physical security, changed over to the cameras. And just this week, we're going with changing out the keypads for door entries as well. So it'll be under one cloud. I don't know how that compares to other pricings. They started that before I was here, but it's been, feature wise, works great.
And then just kind of more generally, what do you think of Verkada? The features work great, but like customer service, anything else?
Customer service is always very responsive. Most of the time I do a chat with them and they can look into the device directly, see what's going on. If there's an issue, they don't hesitate. If they think there's a hardware issue, they'll just send an RMA replacement right away. So not any issues or delays with them.
Thanks for that.
So in my library, we have just upgraded the security camera system to cloud, which is Avigilon Alta. And maybe a couple years down the line, we will go for access control, physical access also to Avigilon, but it's not in our budget right now.
Glad to hear that. Thanks.
Okay, next question is Brian. Brian, do you want to tell your question?
I forgot my second question. Could you read it to me?
Okay, no problem. Sure. Do we have recommendation for AV company or PA system other than SoundLink?
So basically, I'm just being asked to kind of get a second opinion on an audiovisual project, and I already have worked with SoundLink, and I was just wondering if anybody else has any recommendations.
If you want names, I can give you, but we are upgrading our meeting room AV this year. So we have not really given out, but our final three are Midwest, AV Tech, and SoundLink has a somebody called I can get you that name. And other people who came through was Forte. So if you just want names, I can pass on the names to you. But I haven't really worked with anybody because we are upgrading ours now.
That'll be great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Michael from Wilmette. Michael's question is your library's internet use agreement page incorporated in the library policy?
So what I mean by that, I guess, is like, so I guess our director's updating policies and he's realized that our internet use policy is not what he wants to call codified into, part of an actual part of maybe like digital access or something, I think is what he's looking at, something along those lines. And I'm just wondering if anyone has had any experience with it or not. I mean, this is my first time, I guess, hearing about something like this or doing something like this. So I was just kind of curious if like there was any policy that was also related to your internet use, that accept page that shows up for people.
Yes, for us it does. So we have our board policy for usage, and a part of it comes as a splash page when you log into my PC.
Yeah, we're the same way at Glencoe. We have the policy itself on our website under the policy section, and it also comes up as a splash page.
Same thing here. Our internet access policy shows up as a splash page.
Okay, good to know. All right, I think that's it then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay. My question was, we are designing our AI policy. So does an AI policy exist for your library, and how did you design it? Or rather, what was your role and what are the things you look for in your AI policy? So first question, do you guys have an AI policy for your library? No.
We almost did. I say almost because somebody approached me about using I think it was ChatGPT. Like they wanted to get a subscription to it, and I said basically, well, you're kind of the first person to ask this, so I kind of feel like this would be the point where if we were going to discuss, how something like this would be used, this would be it. And he was basically like, okay, then yeah, I won't bother with it then. But I figure we probably will have one eventually, as more people find uses for it. But yeah, it hasn't happened just yet.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the same situation here where if anyone's using it, it's like their personal use. So I don't have anything as far as like anyone coming to me to start using it as like part of like a library, you know what I'm saying? Work or that type of stuff. So
you all are so lucky. I'm not that lucky. We already have people using AI, but in their personal AI for work related. That's why we want to quickly make this policy. So the challenge we are facing is the best AI policy would be you only use it with permission from IT or administration. And without that, you will not use it, or you use only library approved tools. But if you use library approved tools, then it becomes very expensive. So plus, if we enforce a policy, then are we enforcing monitoring, and how are we controlling it? So those are the issues we are considering right now. But so we'll see where we get at.
So I would think that would be kind of hard to enforce depending on exactly what you're talking about, because I mean, a Google search does an AI query.
Right.
So are you going to say no one can use Google?
Exactly. I mean... Exactly. You're right. But then we are supposed to be, how do we control if it is? So we are leaning more on telling what to use it for and what not to use it for in our policy.
Sort of more of a best practices than an actual firm rule about what it's used for.
Yes. Mark, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and it'll be very difficult for us to scrape and stop all the data, but there has to be some kind of guideline, and whichever AI session I'm sitting for, everybody's saying start somewhere. Don't wait to get a perfect policy. It's never going to be evergreen. So just start somewhere. So we are starting somewhere. Maybe next time I'll have some update.
So we're doing the same thing here at Niles. We're looking at an official policy for staff in order to have a guideline, a general guideline. It's not going to be, be all end all. And then we have a committee that we're starting up that will look at the procedures by which we'll do that. So maybe naming things, but I kind of don't want to go down that rabbit hole because every day there's a different AI tool that comes in and maybe one that disappears. So overall, like procedural guidelines is that committee's purview, where the policy will be, it's gonna have the most general kind of information out there as to what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, but not really listing specific, either vendors or services, or companies, that type of stuff.
Thanks, Richard. That's what we are leaning towards too. And thank you for your inputs. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? We are right on time.
I had a quick question just for anyone who's done a building or remodeling project. Are there anything that you wish you had included or in hindsight that maybe you didn't fight for in the budget enough that you said, oh, we could use that now? And I was just curious. We're facing that in the next couple of years.
Are you talking about like data closets or wiring or Wi-Fi or server
Perhaps
room capacities, all that kind of stuff?
Maybe not that level of detail. I think that's pretty well set. But as far as like IT services for patrons or public computer areas or even, I don't know, electrical outlets at study cubes or things like that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We added a bunch of study rooms and a maker space, and I wish I had asked for more cable drops and electrical outlets everywhere, not just limited to the project scope, but, well, you're going to be passing this wall. Can you drop a cable in the ceiling so I can add more wireless access points because demand is skyrocketing over here and people are aggregating in this area. So I'd like to put another access point over here. And so now I run those manually by myself instead of bringing in somebody to run $1,000 of cables.
The other thing is this is Kevin at Huntley. We went through a major renovation about 4 years ago, and there wasn't any IT involved in the scoping. They didn't have a manager of IT at that point, and get one before you do that. They hideously took advantage of people who didn't know. We were sold so many things that we can't use that I've replaced with far cheaper solutions. Just put some IT eyes on things.
We've done a number of large renovations at Algonquin, and echoing what some other folks have said, however many network drops you've spec'd, double it. Just because, like you said, if you have it in the wall, you can pull it out of the wall and put it in the ceiling. If you need, extra devices in places, you've got them. Hard lines are going to be much more reliable than wireless across the board. And as you already mentioned, like you're looking at putting in a makerspace, stand firm on the number of actual circuits that are powering that room, not just the number of electrical drops. I pushed for our makerspace to have dedicated circuits for every one of our ceiling drops. They decided, oh, we don't need that. We're going to double it up. Well, guess what? Now when we have programs where we have heat guns involved, suddenly we can't have as many people in the program as we would like because we can't run as many heat guns for the programs as we want. It's one of those things. Whatever your infrastructure is, you're probably going to want more. The one other thing I'd say, though, is with every renovation, we've actually reduced the number of spaces for public desktop computers. So you probably don't need as many as you have right now because more and more people are coming in with phones, tablets, laptops, etc. And if you are looking at getting any sort of furniture with built-in power distribution, stand firm, be involved in that, because they're going to sell you and say, oh yeah, we'll just put a floor outlet, a floor box here, and we'll put this table over it. And then suddenly the table comes in and it doesn't sit flush because the floor box they put in has a little like hatch that has to be open to let the cable out. And suddenly it becomes this whole thing of having to replace feet on tables and things like that. You're going to be the one that is going to be probably paying the closest attention to some of these things, whereas everyone else is just deciding on colors and finishes. Yep.
Quick follow-up to that. So as desktop computers decreased, did you respond by offering additional notebooks for patrons to check out and use while they're in the library, or was it more of a increase in people bringing their own devices?
It was an increase in people bringing their own devices. We've actually also reduced the number of laptops we have for in-house checkout, because I was repurposing one generation of laptops, and we looked at the number of times the last generation circed, and it didn't warrant keeping the same number around. Obviously, that's something that we'll pay attention to, but at least by us, that's the sort of thing that has not been a need that our public has had.
That's interesting, Erin, you say that, because we are planning to buy a laptop vending kiosk. We are dropping our desktops to half, to 10, but we will put 10 laptops in laptop vending kiosk. So we'll see how that goes for us.
And I imagine that is going to change based on the economic of the economic status of the area that you're in. Our library is mostly people drive here. It's not walking for the most part, except for one high school. So we don't have that demand here. I can see the need for a laptop vending kiosk in other areas, but yeah, pay attention to the number of desktops that are actually being used at any point in time, because we've, like I said, we've decreased. In fact, like 7 years ago, we did a major renovation at our main building. We put in a computer lab, and then in the last few years, we've basically halved the number of computers in that computer lab in favor of having more open desk surfaces and some specialty devices in there that so people can just come in, sit down with their laptops. I just ended up putting in some USB-C docks hooked up to a couple of monitors in the computer lab, so people can just plug their own laptops in. They're not plugged into the network or anything, so it's literally just a way for them to get an external monitor, keyboard, and mouse. But people have been using them, and that's one of the things that was actually surprising me, because I just happened to have extra docks and space, and I was like, let's just try it. And within a week, I had a number of people using it.
Thank you. We just invested in 4.
Never would have thought of.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, just saying that's a really cool idea to have the docking station. It's like a really nice service for if you have a lot of people coming in using laptops, it's sort of an unexpected bonus. They'll come in and be like, oh, wow, this is really nice that I can do this.
Yeah. So at our library, we recently bought 4 pillar booths, and those are working very well for people who are getting their own laptops and want some privacy but don't want the whole room, because we experienced that our study rooms are very popular, but the 6 or 10 capacity study rooms are checked out just by 1 person or 2 people. So that was underutilization. This has worked really well for us.
And John, going back to kind of your original question about renovations, Lincolnwood is about to actually be starting a minor renovation, so I'd be happy to talk some more. But I was thankful to be involved in we're getting some network drops added, so I hope that I've counted the correct number. I'm wondering if I should have just doubled it based on the conversation here, but yeah, I agree. Paying attention to the details is very, very important, because sometimes the other people involved in that kind of project are focusing on other things.
I was just going to add, I guess, a little my experience here. It's been a little bit different at Wilmette because we've seen an uptick in the patron computer usage here since I started. But I also think that's because I started providing services that people found, useful, like whether they be sending stuff. And like now I had an enterprise printer, which is now actually being repaired, but they're printing 10,000 pages a month easy or more. So I'm like buying ink, like black ink, literally every 3 months, every quarter. And so it's kind of crazy when I think about that. But I mean, I'm spending thousands of dollars on ink now, and I can't even imagine the paper because that's also we're going through that. But to think that someone's printing, because I mean, the black ink, I get the high yield. It says 30,000 pages. It goes through 30,000 pages within the 3 months. So I don't know if anyone else has an experience like that, but it was kind of shocking to me because they weren't having that any kind of that printing when I was, when I initially started here. But now that I have added the services or something else like that. So just be aware of the fact that if you're adding any services or adding convenience or anything else like that for people, that they will come and they will use it. And I mean, now that the computers work well, people are just using them because before they were slower, they were 8 or 9 years old. No one wanted to use Office 2016, I guess. But now I have brand new stuff within this last year, and like now people just are in there using it pretty consistently, to be honest with you. In addition to some of the other stuff, but the laptops that we found for at least for our library, a lot of people come here to study and stuff like that because we've got two schools nearby and stuff like that. So you'll see groups of kids and stuff like that studying. So they're not really printing anything in our case, but the having the docking stations like that available is actually a good idea too. I should look into that as well. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to bring a little counterpoint to that because, and actually, like, I have 11 computers and we're thinking of adding at least one or two more if we can somewhere, just because, like, at least on the weekends, they're actually very full. So, and we have it spread out too. It's not even in a separate room. We have like six in front of a desk and we've got like four in front of a window and stuff like that. So, but still, just to allow some people some privacy, so we kind of split it up like that. But yeah, so like, I think it just depends on your demographic, but definitely look at the data for what you're, doing, and then also be cognizant of the fact that when you change the space and you add, more access or anything else like that for people, that patrons might use it in a way that you don't always expect, I guess is what the best way to look at it. So
Yeah, for us also, the zones are changing. So now the access points might need to be upgraded. Then with the new access points, the switches need to be upgraded to PoE plus. So yes, I agree totally with Michael. Once you do the renovation, you can't expect the library to work in traditional way because people find new ways to use it.
This is Kevin at Huntley again, and that's exactly what we found. Luckily, they did go with PoE throughout. We've had a lot of tremendous usage on that. We've also got about a dozen public PCs in a big block, and then two in the children's area and one over the local history area. And we got a donation from the Lions Club a couple of years ago to put larger, more visible monitors on. So I replaced all the PCs at that point along with the monitors. And like you said, if you build it, they will come. And on the weekends and the evenings, especially, we're pretty well loaded. And I was also shocked at the level of print jobs done. We charge 10 cents for black and white, 50 cents for color. And I'm making money on toner because they're pouring it in. We've also got remote. You can print from your phone. You can print from home and come in and pick it up. And those printers run continuously. I've already replaced them both just from dying. But yeah, we don't see a lot of laptop usage here. We're more rural. Everybody drives, so if they've got a laptop, they bring it. But yeah, we use the public PCs a lot.
On the note of printers and copiers as well, also, not everyone is going to be aware of this, so pay attention especially when you're figuring out where network drops are going to go. Just also where your infrastructure is going to go. Like, where are you going to put a copier? Like, how is that copier and its pay station going to physically fit in wherever you're thinking of? The number of printers you want, where they're going to be, as long as so that's in a central location, not just sort of shoved in a random corner somewhere that doesn't necessarily make sense. Digital signage is another thing to pay attention to if it needs a physical drop or if it's wireless, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, and we want signage here. And then you're like, well, there's no power there. Well, there's power in the wall below it. I'm like, do you want an extension cord hanging down from the TV? Things like that. It's the little details of just people who are just thinking like, again, about the overall aesthetics of the library, thinking like we want, signage here, but then how do you actually make that happen? Because that's probably going to fall on you to execute.
I'll just mention to add on to that real quick about the copiers, because we have 2 copiers that are used a lot, but they're not connected to the internet because we have to put them in places where the high traffic areas are and people can see them. But as a result, we constantly have to go and check to see what the toner level is, what the paper level is, etc. So instead of having that being kind of an automated function to some degree, at least especially for toner or something else like that, if you use a vendor like we do with ISBS, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that we have to keep going and check all the time, but that's just what it is. So definitely, like Aaron was saying, we just pay attention to where those high traffic areas might be or could be, and even if it's not right now, put something there maybe in case of a possibility or something else if it makes sense. So.
All right. Do we have anything else that we want to discuss? All right. So just small blurb that my director of public services and I are going to present a poster session in ILA for Teams implementation. So if you're coming in for ILA, we'll be in the exhibit area on Thursday morning. And thank you for putting up with my flu number day 2 today. And our next meeting will be December 16, 2025. And so please send the agenda items and we will meet again on December 16, 2025. Thank you.
Does that conclude the meeting?
Yeah, that concludes the meeting.
So
Is there a motion to end the meeting? Do we have to do a motion to end the meeting? I'm sorry, it's my first.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, thank you.
I'll second.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.